This is MJ. Welcome to Swinging Through Comics. If this is your first time here, I'm just going to be a little loose, but I'm also going to let you know that I'm experimenting with something different setup to make my recording process easier on me, because I'm the one making these things, and if you're enjoying them, that's good for you, but I'm the one who has to do them, and between having a full-time job and a family and trying to be a writer on the side and doing all sorts of other stuff, just things have been difficult, and I'm trying to make my production easier so I can make these things more, so I can keep on enjoying comics. Not to steal a line from Chris from Comic Tropes. Anyway, so today I'm going to be talking about Captain America issue 6. This is Captain America comics all the way back from 1941, and I titled this episode, or the thumbnail will have on it, "Curb Your Bloodlust, America," featuring Larry David. And that's not really a joke, because, well, I mean, it is a joke, but it's because in the Stan Lee short written in this comic, there is a character whose name is Larry David, and he's one of the Sentinels of Liberty. And this band of marauders, who I can zoom over to another picture of them and show them to you, who are lynching Cap and Bucky. There's hundreds of people there. They're lynching them because they think that they're arsonists, and they think that they're arsonists who are just dressed up like Captain America and Bucky, and I don't know why that would be the case. Like, why would arsonists dress up like Cap and Bucky? That doesn't really make sense to me. Anyway, what I like to do with these reviews, though, is show you the, whatchamacallem, well, that's my alternate, if you're looking at the video version of this, you'll be seeing what I'm talking about as I'm talking about it, and if not, you can go to mjmunoz.com, and there, where you find this episode, there will be a gallery of sorts where you can look at the images. So, anyway, I have an alternate thumbnail that's actually going to be featured for the site. But anyway, so this is, mostly written by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, except there's the short story called "Trap for a Traitor," which is written by Stan Lee. I would assume the art is Kirby or Simon. I can't tell whose art is whose, but both of them supposedly are writing or drawing on this, I think. I don't know if Simon became the primary artist and let Kirby do his thing, because Kirby's, really good. So, I do, like I was saying before I interrupted myself, like to start by showing all the covers. And by all the covers, I mean the cover for the Captain America comic itself. This one was supposed to be on the stands, or it was like the... Hey! Don't cough, mister. This September, I guess that's when they're supposed to stop selling it, as opposed to when they're allowed to first sell it. I've never understood that. But anyway, that's what I hear from other comics YouTubers. So, yeah, there you go. But yeah, I mean, we've got... oh, let me see. Let me zoom in on this, because I didn't really take a great look at it at first. Just, like, oh, yeah, there's the cover for this issue that I'm going to be reading. So Cap is... Wow, this actually has elements from everything in here. We've got Cap decking a Nazi who's holding a skull. He has a rope. He's trying to hang Bucky. Then there's a shadow behind Bucky, so to speak, in perspective anyway. Stage rear or whatever. There's a silhouette of somebody who has been hung to death. And... so, Cap's punching that Nazi in the front, and then you've got, Nazi soldiers shooting at him from behind. It's actually being deflected by a shield, and there's a vaguely Asian guy, or Oriental as they would have said back in the day, throwing an axe at him. And I don't know if hatchet men are literally supposed to be men who murder people with hatchets, but that's what they seem to mean in this comic, so it's kind of funny. Anyway, but that's... elements of most of the stories that happen in this issue. So anyway, there's the first cover, and then I'll move on to like the splash page covers, which is what I mean by the alternate covers. I think the first story was, or the second story rather, was with the cam, yeah, with his darts. He has killer darts in his camera, and that's really goofy. Take note of his sharp teeth. I was looking at this earlier with my kid, and I think she said, he has long canines, and, that's right, he does. Let's move on from there. Then we have Fang, Archfiend of the Orient, and so we've got the Camera Fiend, and then we've got the Archfiend of the Orient, and he also has fangs, and let me see if I get a zoom in on him somewhere. Oh, yeah, here he is. He has not only fangs, but he has claws. So I found it very interesting, because I've talked about I think jingoism is the right term, but definitely the othering of the bad guys. Like, I asked my kid on this one, you know, what do the Fangs look like to you? Well, he looks like a monster. Yeah, he does look like a monster, doesn't he? So they're taking these characters who are villainous, and in order to ramp up the drama and make them even more evil, they're giving them inhuman features. They're giving them fangs, and as you see, claws. Fang has claws. It's nice because it's a visual medium, and it's, freaky how crazy these guys look. But I've talked about in past Captain America reviews, that element. The dehumanization of the villain characters by making them monstrous. And, this guy's Asian, but this guy is an American. He's got, like, a very white name, his civilian, like a very, European, not necessarily, like, Nordic, but, very much, like, white, like, waspy American, the typical, like, what Captain America, he and Steve Rogers could be cousins, not him. That's just kind of interesting to me. We get this, so anyway, that's getting to me, but I've dwelled on it before, but I like the fact that they're equally dehumanized. So they're not dehumanizing them on, like, a racist, nationalistic level. It's more like, are you virtuous or are you not? And I think that becomes clear in this issue. We get this really crazy scene of Cap just beating this Fang guy. Like, he just totally thrashes him, and it's pretty wild, actually. Pretty wild. My favorite, let's see, I think I've shown all the covers, right? Yeah, I've shown all the covers. So my favorite thing, though, from this issue is just look at this double page spread. So this would have been, you turn the page from whatever to this, and then boom, there it is. The staple's right down the middle, like where the rope is. And, Cap, Cap exists on both sides, on both pages, obviously in different scenes. This lineup with these lines for everybody is like a whodunit, where it's supposed to be setting up the mystery, and like that Cap's going to investigate. And the funny thing is, there's this big question: who killed Dr. Vardoff? Because he dies in the beginning, and his building gets burned, which is where they jump out of and get captured with us. Okay, there we go. Now I remember. Anyway, I like the murder mystery aspect of it. It was very interesting. The story itself betrays very much this cover or this opening set of pages for it, but I kind of don't care because looking at this alone was so compelling and so visually interesting, and I just had a really good time reading each page. And just like, look at the composition of this. Like, this dude right here, Dr. Vardoff, is hanging from I don't know what you would call this I don't know. There's the word in that's set in these big circles that being hung from his corpse is being hung like almost from the question mark, but the question mark is this typeset element over this graphic element. Gosh, I need to learn more of the technicalities of comics and what they're all called. But like, just like, that's kind of ridiculous, because then we see him here, and then he's in the middle, like where the staple would be. His body is splayed out over both pages, but then he's also talking here, and he's next to Bucky on the bottom right hand of the page. And just like, I don't know, it's just wild how this was framed. And just like, I really love this image. This is a compelling image. I would almost, if I wasn't into making my own thumbnails, I would definitely have that be the thumbnail of the video, because it's so darn compelling. But I feel like I grabbed pretty good stuff to make the thumbnail, and I couldn't resist the Curb Your Enthusiasm joke. Anyway, so I really like this. This whole issue was really good. Besides the art being good and the composition being good, and like really interesting creative things being done. Like, here, speaking of interesting creative things, look at this. The Hangman is here. There's a shadow of the Hangman coming off of him, and there's a rope, or that super silk, hanging from his hand, from his left hand, even though he's holding it in a different position. And somebody might say, oh, that's an error. But no, it's not an error. It's like showing the passage of time. It's representative of the Hangman and what he does, and just, it's so interesting. It's so good, and I'm really compelling. I really liked it. And like, hey, people who complain about wokeness, this is they call her a gun mall, I think, as opposed to a gunzol. Gunzol is a term I heard from Red Panda, and I assume it's from these pulpy things, because, man, Red Panda could have, been on this murder case here. And if you don't know who Red Panda is, check out DakotaRingTheater.com. Anyway, you can find Red Panda there. There are comics, and there are audio dramas mostly. Very fun stuff, kind of like The Shadow. Anyway, what was I going to go to? Because I was about to move to some other point. Yeah, there's lots of good art, obviously. I mean, this is Kirby. Not Kirby at his height, I would say, but definitely Kirby when he's already had like a really good footing, and grown to a really good level as an artist. Now, gosh, I was trying to... Oh, yeah. So, like, the themes from all these different issues, I'm not sure 100% what they are. Are they interesting to me? I'm not really sure. I just really like the adventures. The art was all good. Or the art was good and all of it was really good and fun. Which it always is. It's the violence is so cartoony and so ridiculous, and it's so fun. But earlier I spoke about the fact that Fang and the Camera Fiend were so were different from each other. They're different ethnicities, and they're both evil. I don't know if they could have been linked overall, except for they're working for the enemies of America, and they're both cast as inhuman. Even though, like I said, one's Chinese and one's a, old white man, a rich old white man, privileged. But on the other hand, you have this idea about virtue and goodness, like giving strength and things like that. And there's an interesting theme. This episode, or this comic, all the comics and stories in this, to me, really focused on the Sentinels of Liberty. And the Sentinels of Liberty are, sort of led by Bucky. Captain America's, kind of the leader, but Bucky really is doing, he's pounding the pavement, he's working with these other kids and setting things up with them. Anyway, I got interrupted by some stuff, so I don't quite remember where I was, but the point I was trying to make is that on the other side of that, you have these boys, the Sentinels of Liberty, who all work together, that Bucky is leading. James Barnes, he's the one leading. Everybody calls him Bucky, though, which is funny because that's his superhero name, which doesn't make sense. But I've talked about that already before, too, so I won't dwell on that. But anyway, just these ordinary boys. There's, there's skinny boys, there's boys with glasses. In the past we've seen a black kid and girls in the Sentinels of Liberty and helping out Captain America. And, like, there's a overweight kid. And there's just, people from all different segments of society, and that aspect of nationalism again is beautiful and good. I think that we can all unite as one against a common threat. I think that's a good thing, and it has its uses and it can be positive, even though I think that no matter what, the erasure of the individual into the collective is dangerous, and I think like that's the real kind of evil. But I feel like that kind of is something that Captain America will deal with in the future, because I've heard Captain America isn't like a right-wing kind of guy necessarily, but I don't think like the founders were right-wing either. I think they were like true liberals, which you can argue with me about that all you want, but the reason I settled on and selected that image of the mob is because I felt like that image of the mob trying to lynch them because they were arsonists is a really great distinction to the Sentinels of Liberty acting together as a collective, as a unit to do good. So they're actively stopping people who are murdering others, and Cap's life is threatened too. And on the other hand, you've got this senseless mob who's murdering Captain America and Bucky, and they don't even believe them. They're telling them, "Hey, we're Captain America and Bucky. Wipe the soot off our suits, and you can see that it's us." And they're like, "Yeah, whatever." They call them dogs. So again, they're dehumanizing them in order to make murdering them easier. And it's interesting in the box. Kirby or Simon put this, but the yelling mob is deaf to reason, and then it goes into they're trying to murder these guys, and luckily because Cap is so strong and good and virtuous and right, he's able to get out of the situation. But we as individuals, or I as an individual, am not so lucky and so arrogant as to think that I have the strength. My life is not a comic book. Even if I'm righteous or right in a situation, even if I'm wrongfully accused, just because I'm correct doesn't mean that my life will be saved. Everyone is under the threat of a mob, and I think it's interesting that even in the these early issues that sort of thing was being warned against, and that we got examples. I'll belabor my point briefly, and then I'm going to end things. We got examples of both people being in senseless mobs, and then in collectives that made sense, like the Sentinels of Liberty, who were working together after having thought things through for a good common cause. Anyway, I really enjoyed this issue. It was so much fun to read. But other than that, I don't have much else to say. I mean, I pretty much said it all. You can let me know what you think. If you're a Cap fan, what do you think about the politics that have always been in Captain America, with him starting off punching Hitler and whatever. To hear your feedback on that, because I don't think he's the kind of political most people think he is. And I think most people who say he's political think that he definitely agreed with their politics 100% and would never question that they could be on the wrong side of a mob, even though, you know, I think that's something we should all be scared of and careful of. Thanks for sticking with me. Check out mjmunoz.com for more of my work. I'm an aspiring author who will gladly accept your financial support through coffee, or you can buy merch from my Redbubble store. Swinging Through Comics can be found on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and mjmunoz.com/STC. Relevant links are in the show notes. If you had a good time, like and share this. Subscribe and ring that bell to catch me next time I'm swinging through comics. My latest design is Web Heart. It's a Spider-Man inspired one. You know, he's the web head, and if you love him, maybe you're a Web Heart. You can get a dress with a pattern on it, or you can get a shirt that you can fit on different colors. It's black and looks good on different colors. It's pretty cool, I think.